Hello and welcome everyone to the next episode of our Fractional CMO Marketing Leadership podcast, where we speak to marketing and business development leaders, people who are in the business community, helping and establishing other businesses, helping to grow what I call the real meat and potatoes of the economy, the businesses that make the differences, those that you ever heard that? You must have heard that term before. Ever heard of businesses being called meat and potatoes, Mark?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, you have. So I believe that business generally carries the economy, and Mark is an excellent example of one of those individuals that are true leaders in the business space. The unseen and unheard, hardworking individuals that do make things work, make stuff work in the background, make companies more effective. And Mark is he hails from the sort of the west, it's not, I would say, West London, sort of Reading area,
Yes.
Berkshire, good old Berkshire. My two kids were actually born in Berkshire. Welcome, Mark. Welcome to our show.
Thank you, Dudley. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it's good. We're going to have a great chat. And Mark, you put yourself out there as delivering business growth for SME companies, and it's fascinating. I've been going through your profile, and I'm going to be picking out a few things there and discussing these with you. But welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you, and yeah, what do you stand for, Mark?
That's a big question, Dudley. I've spent a lot of years doing business turnaround, business development. I did a turnaround right at the very beginning of my sort of restructuring career with Microsoft UK. And I've spent, it must be 30 odd years now, working with businesses, helping them grow, helping them, in some cases, resurrecting, but mostly helping them grow, helping them define strategies, helping them define go-to-market routes, and generally working with sort of young businesses that want to do something. They may have a great idea, but the bit, what I call, is taking their ideas and turning it into invoices. And that's what I try and do. I've been doing it a while, as you can see from the, I'm going to say the grey hair, but the lack of hair. But I find it very rewarding in what I'm doing. I enjoy what I'm doing. I'm working with, I mean, my background is technology, but I'm working with a wide range of businesses at the minute. I'm working with a recruitment business. I'm working with an aggregate business, the guy that sells topsoil, which is a real change for me. I mean, I've always said, I work with industries where you can't kick the product, i.e. software. Now I can certainly kick the product and I can shovel the product. So that's what I like doing. I like working with sort of founders. I like working with people. To be honest, I like working with people with oomph.
And yeah, the energy. You seem to be attracted by energy, by passion, by drive, and those individuals that want to make a difference and have an idea they want to bring to life.
Exactly. I mean, I spent a while, as I said, doing turnarounds, and turnarounds it's a double-edged sword. You're working to build a business and to help a business recover and grow and get back on track. But from an energy point of view, in quite a number of the cases I've worked in, you're dealing with negative energy, because the founder of the business is typically sort of annoyed because his business isn't working or his idea isn't working. So more recently, I've been trying to work with businesses that are ready to grow or are established and want to grow, and taking them. I've recently launched a business called The Next Step, because I see business growth in steps, and I help businesses move from one step to the next. And to be brutally honest with you, I'm finding that exhilarating and fascinating and thoroughly enjoyable.
Yeah, I love it too, and I think that space is it's almost like if you're comparing to turnaround is you've got a sick patient, and
Yes.
often it's very, very difficult to bring the patient just to normal health before you can even grow.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm saying? Whatever normal means,
Exactly what
but
you mean. Yeah.
yeah,
I'm working with businesses and taking them from zero upwards. Whereas before they were below zero. And as I said in a few moments ago, I've dealt with some resurrections. I was put into a business that, if I tell you the 12 months without giving anything away in terms of names, for the 12 months before I joined, their total annual revenue was less than their monthly burn. And this was a real resurrection, right? It was a hell of a struggle, but we got there in the end, and the business is doing well.
lots of whipping, shouting, crying.
Oh, there was one of those situations where the founder had an idea. He started the idea, pushed it out there. He secured one big sale, and then he was convinced that his idea was what was happening, and then never sold anything else. And it turns out the one sale he made, which was a huge multinational business, they bought the software and used it for something totally different. And to get him to the point to say, look, you've got this product, it doesn't do what you wanted it to do, but it does this. And if you market it as doing this, people will buy it. That was the struggle. He got there in the end, but it was a struggle.
Yeah, so some years back, I helped a group that had spent. I mean, the guy he'd sold his one business, and he'd spent just over 5 million on developing a bit of software that he started developing while he had the other business, and he thought this is the next best thing. Sells his business, goes and develops a brand new piece of kit. Took him about 3 years. Didn't test the market. Then goes out and says, "Okay, I mean, who's going to be my customer?" I get the phone call. Dudley, do you know of anybody that wants to buy this software? I'm like, did you do any testing before you spent all that money? It's like, no.
I get a lot of businesses come to me, a lot of startups come to me and say, we either want to raise some pre-seed investment or some seed investment, and we would like some help with the funding, which is what I can help them with. My first question is, who are you going to sell it to? And the number of times I hear everybody. At that point, that's the red flag. I pull away from that. But you're right, they don't do... they have a great idea, but they don't think about who's going to buy it, right? How are they going to turn that idea into an invoice? And it may be a brilliant idea, but if nobody wants to buy it, then it's just a waste of time. And in your case, in that case, you said a lot of money.
A lot of money too. So, I mean, we used to. I think in the 90s. I don't know if this is true, but you got a bit of Microsoft background, but the impression was that Microsoft had this philosophy. I don't know if it was him or Steve Jobs, or I can't remember who it was, but Bill Gates was sort of ready, fire, aim. I don't know who came up with that. Was it Bill Gates? I can't remember, but it was go and sell the product first, then we develop it.
Yes.
So, and then while they're using it, we'll fix it. We'll make it work. And we'll build it around the need of the market.
I think that was Steve Jobs.
That was Steve Jobs. Okay.
Yeah, because I spent quite a bit of time with Mr. Gates, and I was talking to him about releasing product, and I said, so when is a product ready for release? He said, if you leave it to me, never. Right? He said, because I'll get it to a point, then I think I can do a bit more. I can make it better. I can do this. He said, which is why I sort of bring in people around me, right? Like Steve Ballmer and these sort of people, the COOs, that say, right, we're going to launch it at that point. You can continue to develop it, but we're launching at that point. Because Bill said he would never release it because it was never ready, never finished.
I love that.
It was amazing.
I think you still have to take a page out of that book. I think, I don't know how you feel, but I think you got to find your market. You really got to find the need in the market. And I think the successful, they call them unicorns,
Yes.
those successful entities that grow to like $1 billion turnover in a year, something ridiculous like that. They have the product market fit. And those, especially in the software industry now, they look at product market fit, and as soon as there is that fit, and you got this hungry market, of course it's going to fly off the shelves.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to one of my clients this morning, and he'd been through what I call the validation process. He'd got the product probably at sort of an MVP stage, and I said, right, take it to market and see what people say, and be prepared, critically be prepared to pivot, right? I think you've got a good idea. You think you've got a good idea. See what the market says, and don't be proud, right? If they say that's great, but it needs to point in this direction, then research that, validate that, and then point it in that direction, and be prepared to do that. And I think the unicorns, I think if you look at unicorns, the proposition they started with is probably not the proposition that they reached the success with. You have to be prepared to pivot and lose your pride. Just, look at it, look at the market, and think about what your focus is not to take that product, that specific starting product, and make a success of it. Your process should be to make a successful business. And if that means changing the product, evolving the product, do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, go.
I was going to say, the problem is if you're talking to a founder with an idea, it's like you're dealing with their firstborn, right? And you're saying, well, take your firstborn and give them a tattoo or cut their hair or something. Not doing that, but...
because there's a lot of emotional connection. Obviously, they've spent a lot of time thinking it through. They've dreamt it. They've lived it for 24 hours a day. It's all they can think about. So, you can't question it because obviously it's going.
And to be honest, in a startup, you want that passion and you want that drive and you want that oomph, as I call it. But they have to be prepared to pivot and sort of be flexible around it.
Yeah, I also want to sort of have a chat around sort of your career path, if you like, and if you could think about yourself as that the scholarly child that I don't know if you went for a suit and tie to school and you sat there in class and you're thinking, what do I want to become one day?
No, I have to be, again, brutally honest with you. I went to school. Most times I had a tie on, but the only thing I could think about at school was, when can I get out of this lesson and go and play rugby? That's all. I mean, to be blunt with you, the only things I could do at school were maths and rugby, right? And I was better at the rugby.
I love that. So when did you decide? I mean, how did it happen? You ended up at Microsoft and getting into technology.
I started off. This is showing my age now. I started off as a computer operator, right, running an IBM 360, which has probably got less power than the MacBook that I'm talking to you on. But I transitioned very rapidly into sales, and to make the Microsoft jump. What happened was, I was working for another computer manufacturer doing distribution. It was a software manufacturer, not hardware. Doing distribution for them and setting up distribution networks. And I set up a UK network, and I set up an international network across Europe, and I advised on setting one up in the US. And I tend to get bored quite easily. And I'd set the network up, I'd put the account managers in place, I'd put everything in place, and it was running brilliantly. And then I was approached by a headhunter saying they had a client with a major problem in their reseller network, and would I be interested in talking to them? And that was Microsoft. Microsoft were, and I really am giving my age away now, they were about to launch Excel, and they wanted their UK distribution network was not functional, was not working, right? So it was a case of, it took me 10 or 11 interviews to get the gig at Microsoft. But I joined Microsoft to sort out their reseller channels. And
because I mean, those days, and I'm also going to probably give my age away, we were the bigger product in those days were I think Quattro Pro, were WordPerfect.
WordPerfect,
what was the
other? Lotus 123.
Lotus 123. Yeah, I remember.
Well, I mean, I restructured the distribution network for them. It had evolved. They hadn't created it badly. It had just evolved badly. And that was all going great. Then we got to the point of launching Excel. I spearheaded the launch of Excel. We did it at fancy hotel in London, Claridge. We did it at Claridge's. Again, my age. Did it as the two Ronnies with the sales director. You know, classic.
I love it.
And it's good night from me, and it's good night from him. But I'll let you into a secret. We launched Excel. The point we did the launch, I had 10 hard copies of the product. Right, it was the days you bought it in a box.
That's right.
We launched it at Claridge's, and in the front row of Claridge's, there was a guy, I forget his name, Simon something, who was the a Lotus 123 specialist, right? And he was a journalist specializing in spreadsheets, and he was the guru on 123. And he said, how do I know it's as good as you're saying it is? I said, try it. And he said, yes, please. So I had to come down off the stage and think in the pile of boxes that were in front of me, excuse me, which ones had the product in. So I found one and I gave it to him, and he gave it a very fair review. So good,
I love
good
it.
case.
Love it. That's a brilliant story. And then obviously technology, because you'd started technology. I see a lot of part of your career has been working with technology-based companies and helping them sort of grow and establish themselves, and then obviously going further in additional work with them. I think I see there's especially on the sales, marketing, business development, and making sure that there's a message and there's also the connection with the right kind of customer base, focusing on those types of things. Tell us a little bit about some of those sort of key moments as you progressing from one client to the next, or one individual company to the next.
Well, I've worked with a lot of companies. Excuse me, I don't think I've talked so much in a long time. I've worked with a lot of different companies. Their problems or their issues always tend to be pretty much around product to market fit, right? And a lot of them have sort of misaligned products. So I've worked with organizations, going back to who's going to buy this, right? Bit different from the John Cleese, who sold you this, but who's going to buy this and why would they buy it? And I've worked with organizations where I've looked at their product offering and helped them put together a value proposition. So let's work out what the real value is, because a lot of the companies I've spoken to have a problem with their perceived value and the client's perceived value. And I've helped them align that. I encourage any organization to talk to their clients, but I've worked with them on aligning their value concept, or their concept of value, to the concept of value of the client, and sort of merging that. And that seems to be a common theme. I've done some work with businesses where there were different issues. I worked with an American fintech business where the product was selling really, really well in the US. They'd been established over here for about 18 months and it wasn't selling at all. I won't tell you the way I got in. It was very devious from their part, but I went in to look at what was happening, and it was apparent that they, to put together a sales force, they'd employed ex-bankers. I do apologise, bear with me. They'd employed ex-bankers to sell to bankers because they thought that was the best thing to do. I went out on visits with these guys, and it was like the old boys club. They would chat about things. They were sorry. They would chat about things. They would talk about the market. They would talk about old mates. They would talk about developments. They were talking about what was happening at, I don't know, Credit Suisse or Bank of America, and there was never any mention of the product at all. So what I was forced to do, and this was across the sales force, so what I was forced to do was to replace the sales force with an old term in terms of sales, with hunters, so people that would ask for the order. And I took a couple of the old sales guys and made them support guys, and that was great. But they just didn't. The guys just didn't know how to say, so how many do you want to buy? Right? I hadn't got a clue how to do that at all. I sat with one guy and said, we'd had this long, I sat with him while he chatted to his mates, and they talked about the world and the state of the market. And I said to him, so how many would you want to buy? Because we were selling platform licenses. And he said, oh, this is a sales call. I said, yeah. He said, oh, yeah, I'll take 20. Let me ask you a question. Why haven't you ordered them before? And he said, well, he never asked. And that was, I took that business from 0 to just over 2 million in about 9 months, because all I was doing was fulfilling latent demand, but nobody had ever asked for the order. So,
yeah, that's sales 101. I remember starting my sales career. We still used the A to Z. We didn't have GPS to get from one address to the next, and you had to go and sit in your office and make your phone calls to set up meetings. There was no Zoom or anything like that, and you hoped that they were in the office because you had confirmed the appointment, and you get there and you're sitting in some waiting room somewhere because something is broken in the factory, or I don't know, wherever you were going.
No, the good old days.
I love it. So coming from that background and looking at the state of the world and marketing today, what would you say are the stark differences between the way we go to market today as opposed to what you and I grew up on in the early days?
I was funny. I was talking to somebody about this the couple of days ago. I have a friend, and we go for Friday morning walks. I'm fortunate to live in a nice area. I can walk by the Thames, or I can walk through the woods, and we go for a walk regularly. I think it's every Friday morning at the minute. And we just put the world to rights, and we were talking about the difference in sales and the go-to-market strategies at the minute, and that his background is digital marketing, so he's very much focused on content, right? But the market has changed in terms of people reach out on LinkedIn to potential clients. They'll work out a client profile, they'll go on LinkedIn and reach out. But it's a case of, and you must get this as much as I do. I get somebody reach out saying, "Dear Mark, I'd love to connect with you. That would be, be really good. We're in similar markets, etc." And I go, I look at their profile and go, "Yeah, okay, nice connection." 30 seconds later, I get a sales pitch, right? And I don't know about you, but that I was going to swear then, but that really bugs me. It really does. I think people buy. In the olden days, people bought on trust and relationship, and that was established face to face. The difference these days is you can establish trust and relationship by getting to know somebody, albeit online. So I have people that reach out to me from posts that I make on LinkedIn, and we build a relationship, right? And that's great. And sometimes it comes into a sales opportunity, and sometimes it doesn't. But it's it's important that you don't make a call and they say, "Who are you?" or "What are you doing?" or "Why are you talking to me?" Right? You need to understand the person you're talking to before you pitch, right? And so I think it's fundamentally the same in terms of trust and relationship and understanding of your client or your prospect. You just do it differently these days. I mean, I don't cold call anybody at all. It's all done online, but I get to know them first. I mean, I had a classic. You've seen my LinkedIn. It says delivering business growth for SMEs. I had somebody ring me up the other day saying they delivered business growth for SMEs and they're very keen to work with me because they thought they could help. Right? And I said, "Have you looked at my profile?" No. Your name came up in I despair sometimes, but there was no professional sales guys in the, as I keep saying, the olden days as well as now. So
I just love that story because I think if I look at, I mean, your friend that you work with, the digital marketing guy, I think what we did intuitively, and where the difference for me is right now is that if you look, even if you look at like the dating apps, not that I go into, I'm happily married for many years now, but when I look at that as an industry, when I look at it, and people are swiping left and right because they like the image, and they go on a date, and they seem to have this sort of very superficial way of connecting. It's like they think sales is like that, like, "Oh, I'm just gonna swipe, and like that person will buy from me." It's like, no, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
But I think what we used to do in the old CRMs, if you remember, you had this linear process. Like stage 1 is introduction, number 2 is build rapport, number 3 is, you know what I'm saying, a bit of fact finding, number 4. You got these stages and steps that were sort of, if you did sales training, you must have done a lot of them in your life, but you had this sort of sales process, if you like, that took you from where you were cold and whatever to, and so on. And the sales people in those days, in the earlier days, and this is the point I'm trying to make is a lot more was on the shoulders of the salesperson. The salesperson was both marketing and sales.
Yes.
So I remember in my early career, I mean, I've never been employed by any company. I've always been an entrepreneur. So from day one, after studying engineering, I was an entrepreneur. So I had started selling and started building things right from the early days. And I had to work out what my marketing message was. Who am I going to sell to? What am I going to tell them? What's my sales tool look like? I had to go and design my own stuff. In those days, we didn't have beautiful, easy to use programs. I mean, you sketched stuff, and you had, I even had an artist come in and part-time, and he came and he painted my first logo with literally a brush and a paint. And I think, if you take that, I had to go and work out the sales pitch, the taglines, the USP, as we used to call it, the unique selling proposition, and the UPB, unique perceived benefits. I mean, you remember all those things. And now people don't even talk about that. It's sort of like, I've got stuff, look at my link online and buy. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, there's a number of steps you're missing out. Not only that, is that marketing and sales have now drifted in terms of sales is more of a conversion tool, and marketing is taking a much bigger area and function than what it did in the past. When I was a marketer, if I was doing marketing in my early days, I'd just be doing branding. Do you remember the brand thing?
Yeah.
It was like, what's my brand? Oh, you must be in marketing, like advertising and branding. That was marketing. Do you remember?
Yes.
Now marketing is about what message am I getting out there? What's the content I'm producing? What platforms am I on? Have I got a consistent, congruent message? Do I have a language market fit? And when you start breaking it down, when we talk about product market fit, but you first have to establish a language market fit. You have to know what your market, the conversations going on in your market's head. You have to understand what they're thinking, what they're doing, and you got to join that conversation in their heads. And then you got to continue the conversation and help them reach a conclusion that you're potentially the right person to be doing business with. And then you get into conversion.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, it's almost like an 80-20 split. Sales are the last 20%.
I was thinking exactly 80-20 when you said that. Yeah, you're right.
When the early days, it was 80% salesperson.
Yes.
20% marketing.
Yeah, but you know, your analogy of the dating thing, I look at recruitment, and I think the internet has made recruitment from both sides too easy, right? I'm working with a recruiter at the minute, so I can speak from experience. But you know, you put an advert out online for, I don't know, a sales engineer or whatever you want, you will get thousands of CVs, literally thousands, because it's too easy for people to go, yeah, I like that, click, yeah, I like that, click, and send you the CV. But it works the other way, because my background is sort of VP, CEO, MD, etc. And I got an emailing the other day from a guy saying he's been through my profile and he'd be very interested in talking to me about a junior programming role. And I rang him back and I rang him up and said, why are you doing this? And he said, oh, I just put in a couple of words in the search engine and then emailed every name that came up. I said, so you did no research at all on what you... No, he said. And that's the way it is. But, you know, as I said, it works two ways. It's the recruiter that I'm working with, he's inundated with people. He was looking for a programmer the other day. He had somebody apply from the Milk Marketing Board for a programming role. I mean, it's just... Anyway...
It's got to blow your mind. So one of the things that I like to discuss with clients that I work with, because I do fractional CMO, pretty much similar to what you do, but I try and this term about having what I call the Dream 100 is if you had to go and do a list and research that list of your Dream 100 customers. And actually go through that list, have names, key people, their address, even photographs, LinkedIn profiles, build a profile of 100 of your dream customers. If you don't have that as a starting point, you're wasting your time. So
you're frozen, Dudley.
first of all, you don't know who you target
Dudley, I can't hear you. You're frozen.
So that's why, Mark, we do testing. Let me close. I don't know why I've come up 3 times. I'll cut this part out. Remove. There we go. There we go. Shall we start the Dream 100 first? Okay, again.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so the Dream 100 really is building a list of your top or your dream customers that you would like to attain. So you build it out, you do all the research, you actually know who you're going to speak to, you've actually looked up their different profiles, and you've understood the market that you're in. So now if you want to do a Dream 100, you can't go and select people in different niche markets. You can't go and bounce around and so on. And it's not everybody. I think that's how we started the conversation earlier was it's not everybody. It is, you got to decide who you're going to sell to. And then as you're building your Dream 100, you start realizing, actually, you know what, there are some similarities. There's some things like that. Obviously, you got to go out and test. Now that you've got your Dream 100, you can go out and approach them, but you don't go out and just try to sell them on day one. You first find out more. So you start engaging them and you start having conversations with them, and and you keep a record of it. And once you've built the record of it, you can now start building out an impression of whether there's an actual market for that or not. And out of your Dream 100, yes, it takes a bit of time, but it's going to save you a year by taking 2 or 3 weeks out and just doing that. It's going to save you a year, 2 years of your life, and probably a lot of money by actually doing something like that. So I don't know what your impression or what sort of tools and methodologies you use.
I ask clients to create a client persona. So tell me, what sort of organization is going to buy this? Who in that organization is going to be interested in buying it? And what are they going to use it for? Right? That's what I ask them to identify for me. And you'd be amazed how many can't. Right? Oh, we've got a great product. We're going to sell it to engineering companies, or we're going to sell it to, and I start and say, so, okay, you're going to sell it to, pick me an engineering company, right? Who are you going to talk to? Yeah, we're going to ring up and see if we can talk to the engineering manager. I said, but hang on, brother, then where does the product fit in that engineering business? Who's going to look at it? Who's going to be interested in it? And how are they going to use it? And you need to take people through that, and people need to go through that and work out exactly what messages to what company and to who within that company they're going to talk to, and what the value to that client could be, right? And they need to do that, but they don't. It's just
they skip that step
totally, because it's hard.
Yeah, it is hard.
Yeah, it is.
It's probably one of the hardest things is to find that and to do the homework, and in terms of going out and understanding once you get the feedback. When you say you're going out to market, you're going out to market. I mean, your market is not your neighbor or your family.
No.
It's actual real people that are in position to buy, and they've got the money.
One thing that I come across with established businesses, or more established businesses, because as I said, I spend a lot of time with early stage and startups, is when they're recruiting salespeople, and I'll say to them, they'll say, can you help us in the process? Yeah. Because I've done so much recruitment, it's unbelievable. And I say, okay, so give me the profile of the sales guy. Well, we want somebody that knows the market and can hit the ground running. and I said, what does hit the ground running mean? Oh, we don't have to worry about training them or anything like that. We just need to get them on the road and they can deliver within the first month. And I say, it doesn't work like that. Right? They need to understand your product. They need to understand your value proposition. They need to understand the sort of people you talk to, right? And they need to know the culture of your business. and how you deploy and how you put it out there. But no, they say hit the ground running. I want results within a month, and it's just naivety.
It's quite crazy because you must have experienced this, especially with salespeople, and because I've also been through the mill with taking on salespeople, because you need to find someone that's not only got a fit with your organization, but got a fit with the kind of ideal customer that you're talking to. So there's two fits that you're looking for, and then in addition to that, they must actually have a little bit of passion, enthusiasm for what they're selling.
Yeah. I mean, I did some work for a company. I'd love to tell you who it was, but I can't. I did some work for them. They were recruiting a sales director, right? And their MD was arrogant. He was a bully, and his interview process was to rant at them in the first interview, and if they came back for the second, he would give them a maths test. Oh, literally, sit down and do this calculation. I'd like to know, I'd like to sell this product. The retail price is this, or the cost price is this. I want to sell it at 25% margin, right? Bearing in mind I've got a 10% reseller commission on that. So tell me what I sell it for. And at that point, most, if not all of the people dropped out completely. He said, I don't understand it. Plus they can't do the test. And I said, you're employing sales directors. You look at them, they've been in the business 10, 15 years, right? They're successful, otherwise you wouldn't have hired them or looked to hire them. And you're giving them a maths test. He said, well, I need to know that they can do those sort of calculations. Unreal.
It's not understanding. And I think that's the difference. And I want to hear a bit about your methodology of how you engage with clients, because the difference for me between an entrepreneur, or let's call it an owner of a business, or the founder and so on, because often that's what drives the initial, especially early stage businesses, or even if it's an M&A and you bought a business and you want to make some changes or transformations and so on. It's a growing business, but you want to bring your own stamp on there. Often the entrepreneur is multi-skilled, or the manager or the management team. They're multi-skilled. They're not great at one particular thing, but they can handle a lot of different things, and they've got lots of ideas and so on. But the implementation is very, very difficult.
Yes.
And one of the methodologies I try and do is I always try and add a buffer in between the founder or owner and the rest of the people. So I try and bring in a second in command that is basically the filter.
Yes.
So you have all the ideas, Mr. Owner, founder, whatever, and then filter it through this person. So before we even look for salespeople or look to develop the business, let's bring in a filter.
Yeah.
And then that person will then hire according to what you think, but also filtered out according to my input from customers, input from suppliers, input from staff, and so on. So that's my sort of one of my steps that I follow. Tell me your engagement process.
I basically say to the founder, right, there's different roles in this business. As the founder, you look forward, and mainly you look outward, right, as to where the business is going, what's it going to do, how you're going to take it, develop it, etc. Right? You need somebody else in the business who looks inward and looks at the business and how it works now, how it operates, how you can make money now, right? And exactly the same as you, a filter, somebody that is there to run the day-to-day business. Because in my experience, 70%, 80% of the founders that I talk to, they may be great at some sort of technology, or they have a brilliant idea, but actually running a business, the operational side, the commercial side, running the business is not their forte. And I always say to them, get somebody you can look, whether you promote them from internally, or whether you bring them in from outside, get somebody to look inward on the business while you look outward from the business, right? And there is something else that I learned a while ago now. I've been working for myself for a long time, and I started off slight confession now, Dudley. I started off going into businesses and looking at it and saying, right, I know what to do. We need to change this, do this, do that. And effectively I was the hero, for want of a better term, and I enjoyed that, and I made some real differences doing that, right? I've evolved on that over a long time, but I now go in as a guide, and my contribution to a business now is to make them, the management team, the leadership team, the leader, whatever you want to call them, make them the hero, and I'll show them where to go and how to be the hero, right? But I don't, I fade into the background. I let them be the hero in the business.
I've got to add something there. Also probably a bit of confession from me. Also, in my early days, I used to do the same, especially when working with other entities, and I would find that sometimes the founder or the entrepreneur would get a little jealous. I don't know if that's the right word.
Oh.
And then next thing I see, my contract for transformation has been cancelled.
Oh,
because
yes.
the staff like me more than the owner.
I was working for an energy company a while ago, and that they were struggling. They needed a new product, and they needed their sales force and their marketing team restructured. And I was asked by their MD to go in, and I identified a product that was basically a derivation of something that they already offered, but it gave them a unique proposition in the market. So, well, for a start, I said to this MD, this is the product, right? It's run by this person here, and I suggest you elevate them to the board, because they're going to be a major part of your business going forward. He said to me, no, I don't want to do that. And I said, why? He said, because she's a woman and I don't have women on my board. Well, that was something we overcame, and we got the woman on the board. But I could sense a lot of people were coming to me for answers, not him. And I tried to push back on that, and I tried to bring him in to meetings and but he didn't have the answers. And it came to a head. We were sitting at a board meeting, and they had a major crisis, and their commercial director came into the board meeting. The MD was chairing it. They came in and said, excuse me, to the MD, and asked me the question. To follow your example, that a week later, my contract was not renewed. I mean, you have to be, even if you are going in as a superhero, you can't take that role, right?
You just can't take that role. So obviously I've finessed, and I've worked around, and I've built better tools and so on, and I do a lot more. Let's call it role play and so on, and upskilling the leader of the organization, because sometimes you know what it's like, because you know what you need to do, so you just get on and do it.
Oh yes.
So over the last few years, it's changed significantly. But then now I do role play, because initially it was, you get the call comes, I need to grow my business.
Is that you or me?